G'day, this is Jack. We're joined this afternoon. We're going to talk through Jack's experience. Jack and Alyssa, who are an Over and Above client, and we're going to talk through how they were introduced to us, the process that we went through to acquire them a property, and how they actually felt through the whole process. And so thanks for joining us today, Jack.
No worries.
So talk us through, where did you first come into contact with Over and Above?
Firstly, I tried to do this all myself. I tried to kind of search online. Had a lot of you find a lot of programs and a lot of websites that you think have all the information, and I did think that they had all the information. And then the more I got into it, I kind of thought, oh, there's got to be more to this. And then I spoke to a friend who I knew had a few regional properties, and then she gave me your number. So this is Taylor. I'm sure people kind of know her from a few videos she's done for you. So she gave me your number, gave you a ring, felt really comfortable. Kind of, we talked for probably half an hour, the initial phone call, and you kind of settled me down a little bit. I was a bit probably too keen. And then spoke to Taylor again. Again, she kind of, she gave me a number because she recommended you, but she said, no, we've had a really good time with you guys. So yeah, then we got on the Zoom chat, talked about what we were kind of looking for, where we were in our life. And then I think from there, I signed up, paid the initial kind of fee, and then got bulk houses thrown at me, and it was awesome. It was had heaps to choose from. Each one we talked about pros and cons. Being in construction, we kind of looked at what I could do to the property. So getting heaps with value add kind of opportunities, and then from there, I reckon we had a house. Kind of took us a little bit longer than what we wanted to, more through finance. Kind of like trying to get. I hadn't been pre-approved at the time, so got pre-approved, and then I reckon it was probably 3 months later we found the one we wanted in Wodonga.
Yeah, perfect, mate. So that's a good analysis, I suppose, of being referred to us by someone who had experience through our services and using our experience and expertise and the like. So it was good to meet you through our own internal channel, really, and be trusted through that network, and come in. And I think we initially sat down, Jack, and we were talking about how you were looking for a principal place of residence down in the outer suburbs of Melbourne, and how you were continuing to be knocked out of the game, and how prices were moving and all that sort of stuff. And then we talked about being locked into a mortgage and the repayments on that, and how long it may take for you to start to accumulate properties outside of that. Because
definitely,
passive income was important to you, wasn't it?
Yeah, passive income and kind of value add. I always wanted to look at property, even when I was looking for a PPR in the eastern suburbs. I was always looking at properties that I could kind of add value to. So that was another thing. But I thought, if I'm going to pay 800,000 something in the east of Melbourne, what am I going to be able to do with it? Because all my money's going to be gone. Yeah. Whereas, buying regional, I'm spending half the amount, can buy twice the amount of properties and do the work on them myself, type thing.
Yeah. So you really started to develop a bit of a strategy. Instead of applying up all your capital to buy the principal place of residence, the home that you live in long term, you decided to go about it the other way and become effectively like a rent-vestor, I suppose, where you rent where you want to live, and you invest your capital elsewhere with your borrowing capacity. And you and Alyssa had really good borrowing capacity. It did take a little while for your finance to be sorted out. There's a few hurdles to jump there, but that can be standard. So we settled on an area, and I suppose just take us through, what you learnt as part of the overall process, and obviously there's processes within the process. So what was it that you sort of picked up? You thought, well, wow, I didn't know that, or I didn't know it was that detailed, or I would have had no idea what to do there.
I guess probably like everyone looks at, and that's what I was doing when I initially started with, the median house price, the rental yield, and the vacancy rate, and that was how I was, that's how I was looking. Like that's how what I was basing all my information off, with those three kind of things. And then when you started sending through the Google Drive, the big folder with all the Google Drive stuff on them, I started to realise what you're looking at in terms of growth, not just for the house that we're buying, but also the area we're buying. What they're doing to hospital, what they're doing to uni, what's happening in the area, what big business starting up, everything like that. I kind of thought, oh, there's more information that you need to know to go out and buy a house and rent it and go, yep, that's good. But I guess if it's not growing, if the area is not growing and your house price isn't growing, I mean, what are you going to sell it for the same price in 20, 30 years time? Like whereas if we can find the next kind of, I look at suburbs that have gone up, like Bendigo 5 years ago, you could buy a house for 200,000, whereas now you're looking at like 500,000 to buy a house in Bendigo. So I was always keen to find the next Bendigo, I guess, or whatever. Geelong, same kind of thing. Like Geelong in the last 5 years has really shot up. So yeah, that was kind of my thing with the area, I guess, more so than the actual house. Find a good area, then find the property within that area.
Yeah. So it was the research and then the type of property, I suppose, that, that part of the process was very important. Also, I suppose, given the challenges, I suppose, with navigating through the finance pieces, the importance of getting that set up right to be able to not just buy this property, but the next property for you as well, in laying the foundation right.
Yeah, well, see, I never realised. Obviously, I realised that you could do the 10% and get the LMI, or get a guarantor or this or that. But I always looked at it as 20% and then borrow the rest. Principal and interest only, principal and interest loan. So that was just because all my friends were doing that. So I just thought that was how you did it. I didn't kind of think any other way. And then we spoke again and said, all right, how can we keep as much cash for another property down the track? And then with the rent we're getting, how can we maximize the rent we're getting so that we're actually making some money? Again, you listen to a lot of people, which we talked about, negatively gearing a house. It's a tax benefit, but I kind of think of it now after talking to you and a few people you kind of put me in touch with, an accountant and the mortgage broker, that negatively geared all good and well for tax benefits and that, but at the end of the day, if you're making $100 and you got to pay your tax on that, you're still making the money. Like if my mortgage is getting covered, but half of it's getting taken from tax, it doesn't really bother me. I'm not paying that mortgage. I look at it as I put in the deposit money, and then after that, I'm not really putting in a cent. I really have nothing to do with the house now. It's down the track. I'll do some work to it. But at the moment, it's just work. Like, it's actually, when people say money working for you, it's a bit of a cliche, but it is. I'm literally not touching it, not looking at it, not doing anything. It's just paying itself off at the moment.
It's making money for you, which puts you in a really good position to either reduce debt or build cash reserve for the future acquisitions, or putting that money back into that asset to extract value. And that's where we talk about, the interest only versus the principal and interest, and the benefits and features associated with both those as an investor. And I think teaching you about how the finance could or should be structured, and incorporating the accountant and the advisors and into that space, really, I suppose, how did that make you feel? Did you feel empowered to then make some informed decisions and feel like you were growing through that education, or how did you feel?
Yeah, well, it's I spoke to the accountant who you put me onto, who it's they're all not a property accountant, but he did deal a lot in property, and he just said, I'm not going to tell you what to do or what not to do, but these are the pros and cons, which was really good. I don't really like being cornered into one thing or the other. so that was good. And then dealing with the mortgage broker, he just told me what I could and couldn't do, which again, kind of, he didn't put me in a corner. He just said, this is what you can't afford, and this is what you can afford. So anything up to that, you decide. And then came back to over and above and went, this is what we can do.
Yep.
What can we do?
Let's reverse engineer this and see how that's you work towards achieving those long-term goals for you. So that's good. So in terms of we go back to the process again, and you got your research. We got a bit of a plan at the start. We do our research based on area for growth and cash flow. We've got a bit of strategy there that we want to execute at some point in time to make some more money. But then we've got the acquisition. So do the negotiations, and then we get the deal done, and then it sort of opens up a whole new world at the back end with building and pest inspection reports. How do we read those? And then insurance, and then property management. And so how did you feel? Like, obviously Alex handled the back end of the process. How did you feel as part of that process? Like, there's a lot of overwhelm there, I suppose, if you're trying to do that yourself, because you don't know really what you don't know, and should you be paying, and how does it work? So how did you feel there?
Well, with the Click app that you put us on, the instant message kind of app, that was like, I spoke to Alex a couple of times a week at least, just with any questions I had. I've got this email, what should I do? Yes. It was literally as easy as that. Insurance, I don't have anyone to do our insurance. And then Alex, 5 minutes later, I got an email. This is a guy we use, introduced me, and he ended up doing our insurance. So just little things like that. Having the instant messaging, it's just like messaging, was really good. Just because if you were getting phone calls or anything like that from people, or like property managers, this is what we're doing. Well, I didn't know if that was the right thing to do, and they're obviously going to do whatever's best for them. But I wanted to do what was best for me. And so quick message to Alex, what do I do? What do you think I should do? And then, she handled it pretty much.
That's good. So I suppose the one thing that you take away from the overall journey thus far is, if you were trying to do that on your own and try and replicate that to a T versus what you have experienced, what would you see as the one thing that you just now wouldn't or couldn't do without, or recommend others shouldn't do without?
Well, I guess I've always been someone who likes having a second opinion, or like someone who I really like that, that validation, that you are kind of doing the right thing. This is a good strategy. This is a good idea. This, down to, how are we borrowing, why are we borrowing, anything like that. I like having, in everything I do, really, I like having that validation of that. Actually, that's a good idea. And if it's not a good idea, well, I don't really think that's a good idea. And then it makes me think about it. Whereas if you go into something with someone going, "Yep, I'm backing you," that's that thing too is that, we're behind you, kind of like, we're backing you. This is a good idea. Trust this type thing, and it makes you feel a lot better.
So the support, having the support there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, that's good. So, I think there's a lot of things that you've learned throughout the journey. What would you say the one thing that you've learned? So you talked on the support was pivotal. That's the number one thing you've taken away from the whole experience that you couldn't have done yourself, is having that support to get it right and be certain and validate, your thinking and your logic. So what did you personally learn? What's the one thing that you're taking away from all this?
Probably that there's a lot more that you can do in property investing than what you can, like what your friends say, and what I have a lot of, like, even now I get a lot of friends questioning what we're doing, why would you do that, why would you do this? But I don't think they realize how many different options there are in property. And I think because it's not the norm, especially what we're doing, we don't have a PPR or anything like that. So we haven't bought, and then now we're buying our investment property. We're doing it a bit backwards, and a lot of people, I would say 80 to 90% of the people that we talk to are really, they really question it. And yeah, I think they don't realize what you can actually do with property, even down to tax breaks and how we can put, use income from rent to property to avoid different tax, that type of thing. I just think people don't, they don't understand as much as what they think they do.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. Like you've got people that buy their principal place of residence and slave for 30 years. Like I think
Yeah,
the article you commented on the other day, you slave for 30 years to pay it down, and then
yeah,
you to the end of that and you're scarred and battered, and then you have to continue to go to work to support your lifestyle and your family through income. You've created
yeah,
no form of passive income through that. So what you're doing is you're immediately starting to create a passive form of income, and what you're using that income for at the moment is to pay your rent or
yeah,
pay a portion of your rent. Not
yeah,
even worried at this point in time, because we are interest only in paying down the debt portion. We're going to let
yeah,
the property tick over, do its thing, grow in value, and we're actually going to take that cash, either sit it in the offset account, or we're going to use that cash to pay for our rent on a weekly basis. And so
yeah,
you say you've done things a little bit backwards. I think you've done things forwards in the way others don't think, because
yeah, yeah,
that's all they know. It's the old way. It's the great Australian dream. You've done things different, and it's working for you, and it's going to continue to work for you guys
yeah,
longer term. So, no,
yeah, definitely.
no, that's good. Well, I do appreciate you sharing that with everyone today. There's a lot of relatable content in there that we can share, and the viewers and our prospects are going to get a lot of value from, Jack. So thanks so much for your time on behalf of yourself and Alyssa. Thanks
Yep,
on behalf of Over and Above.
no worries.